All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the PodBrother show. We're here at Tom Bergin's tonight doing our introduction to the Penalty Game podcast show, which basically is a game that you can play while you're watching NFL or baseball or basketball or any sports game. We picked Monday nights because Monday nights is the NFL Monday Night Football, and we can play the penalty game while we are watching the game. But tonight we had some fantasy football guys come in and kind of take over the room, so we had to share with them. So we didn't play the penalty game tonight. However, we will play it next week. So just so you guys know, tonight, no penalty game. Next week, we will play. And this is a game basically I invented to play with my girlfriend like 30 years ago, but we're going to turn it into like a podcast thing because it was so much fun then, and it's been fun throughout the years. So we're gonna have some fun with it. But for now, I have the pleasure of having the very funny and wacky, campy, witty Adam Gropman. We've known each other for a few years now.
Yeah.
And my man is here with us on the Penalty Game podcast. Adam Gropman.
Thanks, man.
What is happening?
It's good to be here in this this kind of rich guy's nostalgic ski lodge in Big Bear. Really owned by some kind of guy who wears slippers, he smokes a pipe, and he owns a factory of some sort.
He's got a smoking jacket.
He's one of those old school lawyers. You know, lawyer wears like tweed, and he made a lot of money a long time ago. And it's super hyper masculine. It feels like a cross between Little House on the Prairie and some sort of like downsized version of Great Gatsby in here.
He's got his Argyle socks on.
For people who can't see, in the huge fireplace, it's a hearth. It's an actual hearth. First of all, it's like this inset thing with bricks, and then the actual real fire. It looks like you can really burn wood in there, unlike a lot of things.
You actually can.
Yeah, it's not a gas fake thing. Then it
is a for real fireplace, real brick, real chimney.
Fire pokers that you could chase a bear with. Then there's copper pots hanging, so you could actually make things like in the fire. You could cook your porridge, or your hot chocolate, whatever. Then on the mantle up there, there's huge lanterns. There's a big metal horse. There's various trophies, pictures. Then there's I'm not kidding. There's some kind of a rifle from like 1793, like a blunderbuss, like a rifle. I think you have to like pour the gunpowder in and tamp it down.
It's like a musket.
It's like a musket. And then there's a huge animal, like antlers that are like 15 feet wide.
That's
crazy.
That's Bullwinkle up there.
Bullwinkle, like kind of small head, huge antlers. He could take out like seriously like half of a football line with those antlers.
That's how we get down, man.
Yeah, it's awesome. Very comfortable couch.
Yeah, and the couch looks like it's been here for like 50-something years.
I can smell old celebrities on this.
Yes, I'm guarantee you Ronald Reagan has sat on that couch.
Totally.
Because that's
yeah,
that's what this place is just like oozes old school celebrity.
Very.
Kind of like smoker pipe whiskey.
Or even even just old school LA guys, like some police chiefs hung out here or something. You know what I mean?
I'm sure of it. Now, did you notice coming in? There's a bunch of like clovers in the ceiling.
Yeah, tons of them.
Tons of names, and
you
can. Some of them are all smoky, like tar tainted.
Yeah.
LA smog.
Yeah.
Kind of like
very weathered.
School, and then you see some fresh new green ones.
It's a thing here. I forget what it means exactly. Like, it's definitely like a Tom Bergin's thing, where you have the big clovers on the ceiling.
I think you have to drink an X amount of whiskey to get up there.
And you get your name, or you get a number or something?
I think you get your name on a clover leaf, and then that clover leaf goes on the ceiling, and then it's there forever.
Right.
And
so if somebody ever gets admitted to like Cedars-Sinai for alcohol poisoning, they ask for your clover. They want to see your clover.
Yes, they can tell how much alcohol you've consumed just by the year and date, and how much faded your clover is. Then they know how to give you a diagnosis.
Some bars, there's one bar up in the Valley, man, crazy dive, way, way, way north Hollywood, kind of like Sun Valley. and they do the thing with dollars on the ceiling, which to me is a great scam. I mean, depending who's putting the dollar on. If customers are putting the dollars on for fun, then one day when you're low on cash, you just clean out the ceiling.
Just go up there, kind of like what they do in the fountains, the wishing fountains. You know, you gotta figure after a few months they're coming in there and scooping out.
Well, why not go swimming in one of those things at night when no one's around? You know what I mean? I mean, leave some pennies.
When times are hard.
Yeah.
That's how you get down.
Well, there was this great story when I was a kid. I read this story about this brother and sister in New York City, and they go and they sneak in and they stay overnight at the museum. And I think they used the real museum in the story, even though it's a fictional story, and described it. It was like maybe the Museum of Modern Art or whatever. And I guess there's a fountain inside that people throw money. So they just ended up collecting the money and then like bought a sandwich the next day or something. So
it wasn't even like a major killing.
That always stuck with me. Yeah.
They went through all that trouble, and you would think they would scoop out thousands of dollars of coins, but just enough to get you a ham sandwich with a little extra mayo, some mustard,
maybe fries.
Adam, what you been up to? Actually, where did I meet you? Did I meet you at my club on the Queen Mary, or was it before that or after that?
When I think about people I've known a long time in LA, and it's amazing that, to me, it's like there's people I've known around 20 years now. Because I've been in LA around 20 years, right? It goes fast sometimes.
It does go fast.
Because it's felt like, I've been in a few years, whatever. But it's been around 22 years, man, to be honest. And
it's been almost 10 years for us.
No, it's been longer. No, I've known you the better part of the time I've been here because I had to have met you before 2007, which was the halfway mark, because we're in 2017. But here's the thing. I go back, okay, what are some big major associations with that person? And I try to narrow it down. The Queen Mary thing was early on. I'm trying to think if it was the earliest, though, because definitely I used to do your Queen Mary thing. It was fun. Sometimes it was in a little lounge way up high. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it was in that amphitheater. Mm-hmm. I remember there was I think Aldo Giuliano was doing it, and Kevin Garnier was down there, and I'm trying to think of was Brett Gilbert? I don't know.
Adam Hunter. Eric Griffin. Okay. Lisa Alvarado.
All right.
Mike Ferrara.
Okay.
There's a lot of people came down there.
Yeah, and it could be real fun, man. And then you had this contest down there once, this Carnival Cruise thing, and I got just stepped on still. I just got burned by Billy. What's his name?
Billy Batts?
No, not Billy. No, not.
He was a regular down there.
Yeah, no. I'm talking about a celebrity judge. I'm talking about the guy from became famous, the big guy who's on the show with Melissa McCarthy. Billy. Famous. He was famous comedian kind of then, and then he's became his sitcom celebrity. Gardell. Billy Gardell.
Yeah.
You had Billy Gardell as a celebrity judge.
Yeah.
And whatever I was doing back then, he's like, Adam, I don't know about it. What you doing? And then since then, it's funny because you remember having Billy Gardell as one of your judges in that Carnival thing?
Yeah, that was a while ago.
You kind of helped set it up, like you weren't completely running it, but you were like the liaison that got them in there. You definitely were, and they came in, and there was some comedy industry guys, and they were sitting over on the side, and you got up in the amphitheater, that huge place.
What it was, there was a comedian who was a regular on the cruise ships at the time.
Yeah.
And then he was worked out a deal with Carnival Cruise to do a comedy search for comedians for the cruise ships, and since Carnival sailed out of the Long Beach Harbor, they thought it would be cool, and since I had my club there, they could host a contest there.
Right.
And I was kind of the liaison, coordinator, venue.
You were there, and you were cool, and you were, you always, nice and cool to me. And it's just, it's just where I was. I think I got to the second level. I think what it was is, I think my first set, I got pretty good. And so they were like, yeah, we had some hopes for you and stuff, you know what I mean? And then whatever it was, it just, and I was such, lesser, newer performer. And then since then, I did some show with him in Orange County, and he was, he was cool. He was like, hey, very funny, man, But anyway, that was one of the memories. And then you did a show that was really fun in the middle of downtown Long Beach. That was downstairs.
I think that was the
downstairs near cool old
that was
buildings.
The vault.
Okay.
The vault.
Then there was the Blue Room or something where it was a huge place, also in downtown Long Beach.
Yeah, the basement. Or no, the basement was where I was downtown.
Yes.
The basement. Yeah.
The basement was neat. Had a cool feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was after the Queen Mary gig, and then what was the other place?
And then I remember you had that house in Long Beach. It was pretty cool that I visited once or twice, sort of somewhere, like maybe not that far from Long Beach Airport, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. You had a lot of kinds of equipment and stuff.
Yeah, we were doing like some green screen stuff. That was like early, like podcast years, early stream, years when I was like really thinking that okay, this is something I really want to take serious and I want to, basically kind of get into.
But I'm trying to remember who connected me to you, or what. Sometimes it's like one comic tells you about something.
It's usually a comic reference,
and you go one time, and if you have a cool vibe, then you kind of get in with the person or something. I always like going down to the Queen Mary. I mean, it was kind of neat. It was a neat place to go down to, that ship.
I had such a good time there, man.
Yeah.
I had these ambitions of creating this really cool kind of like, comedy club where I could work out and have my friends work out, and we can collaborate on just any cool comedy thing, from stand up to fundraisers to scripts and shorts and skits and contests and all that stuff. But what I found is owning a comedy club is kind of like having an infant. You can't leave it for 1 second unattended, and it's like that cuts in on all the other opportunities that you're looking at. Like there was movies I couldn't go to, auditions I couldn't go on. There were shows that were interested in me that I couldn't do. There were like corporate gigs and cruise ships.
It must be a lot.
And comedy gigs, and I would go to the Cannes Film Festival because I did a film festival on the boat there, and some of those films got selected in the Cannes Short Film Corner. So obviously I'm going to go to Cannes and leverage that. So I'm leaving the club for 10, 14 days at a pop to do that, and I was
going to say, in the times when you tried to relegate it over to someone, did you find that it would kind of slide? I mean, it just wouldn't be the same.
Yeah, it's when I did that, there was always some drama. I was always getting calls in the middle of the night, middle of the day to try to squash one thing or the next. And I the one thing that pops in mind, I left it with 2 comics, and I don't know why I did that. I should have just left it with 1, but they ended up having like a full-on fist fight on who was going to do the lineup, and I get a call from the Queen Mary and security and management, and they're all just like, where are you? What's up? And these guys are, the customers are freaking out, and I had this woman who was handling tickets. She had a meltdown from it, and here I am at the Cannes Film Festival. And my entire club at home is imploding with comics fist fighting each other. So it's stuff like that really sucked a lot of fun out of it, and it made me realize that I came out to Hollywood to see how far down the rabbit hole I could go with my comedy and my writing and directing and stand up, and not necessarily to babysit a comedy club. And
what we should do today is I just realized, if everything's still going strong with the different venues on the Queen Mary, we should install a puppet regime to run a comedy club there. Find some young, hustling guys, who kind of have a head on their shoulders.
Right.
Because if it's a place with audience and a pretty good vibe.
Yeah.
and that's a valuable thing in LA.
I did get some calls over the years if I was interested in coming back and doing it, but I would have these flashbacks of all the drama and the crazy and, you know, all the things you got to keep up with, and you know, the money, making sure, like, you know, the money's right, and, you know, who's gonna, it's and then I would be like, I'd stick my head back in my shell and be like, you know, fuck that, you know.
I don't blame you.
But, you know, I think if I found, you know, some young bloods that were trustworthy, who were ambitious and kind of saw the dream, you know, that might be something that I would try to, like, get back into. But I would make it a podcast theater where it's comedy and what I'm doing now.
That's awesome.
And but I know we can all dream, right?
Yeah.
So what do you got going right now, man? You got any cool, like, films or tours or projects? What do you got on the Adam Gropman slate?
My wife and I have a son now, which is he's awesome. So he's you know, coming up on 3.5, and he's a real sweet kid. So we you know, we try to enjoy the time we spend with him, and that's part of our life. And actually, like, for instance, my wife and I, before our son came along, so it was probably at least 4 years ago, I'm guessing, we went to something you had going on at the Roosevelt Hotel that had to do with some festivals, like packed with people.
Yes.
It was all kinds,
Yeah, that was the Beverly Hills New Media Film Festival.
Exactly.
Opening with John Lovitz was there, and who what's her name? Fairchild.
Okay, Morgan Fairchild.
Morgan Fairchild.
Okay, yeah. There was a lot of people there. But anyway, so I'm still, you know, doing stand up and actually really digging a lot of my sets, because I've just always tried to evolve. I just trying to be more and more real, more and more organic, where my stand-up's coming from, where my experience is, and my life, and what I really think and what I really feel. And I think that's a good way to go, and it works for me. You know what I mean?
Well, that's one thing I feel fortunate that I was able to see your comedy well over 10 years ago, and you were funny then.
Okay.
But to see the evolution 10 years later of what you're doing and is also very cool.
Thanks.
It's super satisfying.
Yeah.
As a comedian, as a comedy promoter, as a podcaster, as a club owner, to, you know, part of the excitement would be to see these guys come in with, you know, some serious potential and then actually evolve that into a serious comedy commodity.
And
you're one of those guys. You're one of those guys
that's
like that. That's cool to have witnessed.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I mean, there's a part of me that is tough on myself and my act. I'm not. There's a part of me, you have to like it, appreciate it enough to keep going and to think you have something of value. I mean, even when you're earlier and younger, right? But you gotta. I am, and I respect guys who also are, like, reasonably tough on themselves. You know what I mean? And I knew, especially always looking back, I knew that, like, I gotta be better in that way. I gotta strengthen it up, gotta tighten it up, gotta be stronger. And part of it for me was just being more real too on stage, punching it and writing it, but also just getting in touch with what makes you funny in real life a lot of the time. You know what I mean? When you're just funny in front of people and your friends because you're just being real, and then it's got some passion behind it, and as opposed to being really contrived. You know what I mean? I'm not saying I was, like, super contrived, but I've tried to get less contrived as I go. And then also stage time. Stage time's an amazing thing. It's like seeing an athlete that just gets stronger and more muscular and more coordinated just by doing it all those years, you know? So I appreciate you saying that, and that's one of the reasons why it still can be really fun, because when you have more command and you have more confidence built in and you try more stuff and you found yourself more, then oftentimes that can lead to sets that are just more fulfilling, you know? So the sets I'm doing are fun a lot of the time, as long as there's, you know, some audience there that can listen and make noise. And I'm always up for finding new good stage time. I do a little bit of road, but because of our situation, my wife has a full-time job and our baby, I'm not kind of able to and trying to be like a road warrior right now, although I respect doing the road and I like the experience when I can. You know, so when I can, I do what I can. But mainly, I'm just trying to do spots around Southern California, that kind of plan. You know, and then I do this speech roast writing a lot, this business that I set up years ago, where I write funny material and roasts and funny speeches for people who find me online, and they're like all over the United States and sometimes even other countries. And it's a cool job, like a day job, money earning job, you know what I mean? Because I get to like use joke writing skills. It's fun. They get to get up and be really funny, and it always gives me a good feeling, you know. And then sometimes, you know, some touring comedians will ask me to write this or that stuff, material, and I have something out that's like this, like a sitcom pilot thing that like it's one of these companies that's they're on a lot, like they're on a lot, but they're like high end online content. I guess they're online content with a budget. So if they make something, they really can produce it right. And I guess there's some money. So whatever. Just this woman liked it. She's going to get back to me. She's circulated it to her staff to read. And I always take everything with a grain of salt. I don't have, you know what I'm saying? I'm not like, oh yeah, that's it. I got it. Money in the bank. But to me, it's just to have something out there going. You try, you throw your thing in the ring, you know, is what you can do. So throw that in the ring. A couple other things I've kind of thrown out in the ring in terms of writing stuff. And I started this novel a while ago, and I want to kind of stay with it because it's a neat, that format is a cool format for me because it's not as constricted and rigid as screenplays. Screenplays can be great, but like it's a science, and you better like stay in those lines with that formula and get to that by page, whatever. With a novel, it feels like it's a good thing for me because it's a little bit more like you get to completely create the world. And
more of a free flow.
It's more of a free flow. It has its own, you know, definitely requirements. But I'm really using my 20 years of observing Los Angeles in it. Like I'm really trying to like just everything that I've kind of gone around and I've seen and I've learned. I've always loved going around in cities I live in. I like to actually just go everywhere and just observe all kinds of stuff. Just you know, and the experience that I've had, I feel like, oh, okay, that's something that I can use as a creative person. You know what I mean? It's not all just like I was sitting there hanging out. And you know, people use it's like everything. I'm sure stuff you do, and for comedy too. Comedy, we get to use those experiences we had, which at the time we didn't know that they were going to be of use to us. You know.
Yeah, you know, I mean, one of the highlights of meeting and knowing and working with you is there's always these snapshots in time that you hold forever. And you know, there's a couple of them for me with you, and one of them was my very first podcast at the John Lovitz Podcast Theater. I called you up, and you came on, and you brought Bob. Yeah, and that was a very, very fun, interesting night. We had a very cool audience, and we had you know, it was just like I was super exciting, you know. You know,
Jeff Garland, or was
Jeff
that
Garland
a
was on
different
there?
one? Did you have me twice to talk about the Bob thing? Because
I had you twice. Yeah,
one was Garland, and I remember that was really cool.
Yeah, I had you twice, but that was really kind of a pinnacle for me because that was the time I went from stand up. You know, I was at the John Lovitz Podcast Theater as a 3D coordinator. Yeah. And from being there for that, I learned how John Lovitz and Kevin Smith and Adam Carolla and Heidi and Frank and Heidi were doing their pod, and I was like, okay, a bell hit me like a ton of lights. This is where I want to be. This is what I want to do, and this is the niche I want to carve out. And all of my friends who I've worked with over the past few years, I want to like pull them in. And you were one of the first guys that I called, and you're like, hey, I got this guy that, you know, I think would be a very, very fascinating guest on your story. Can I bring him? We can talk about like his thing. And it was very interesting. And one of my camera guys was his kid goes to school with Jeff Garland's kid, and he was able to like meet up with him at some teacher parent thing and asked him if he would come down, and that's how he was there. And that was one of the things that was really, really a super highlight for me, because that launched this whole, you know, journey I'm on now.
Yeah.
With the PodBrother. As a matter of fact, there was a drunk guy in the audience that came up to me afterwards and was like, "Hey, man, that PodBrother shit was really funny," and I hadn't really come up with that. Yet. And I was like, PodBrother, that's pretty good, because John Lovers was the godfather of podcasts. So in his head, I was the PodBrother. So I like immediately went on my phone and like saw if that was available, and podbrother.com was, I snatched it up, and I've been the PodBrother ever since.
It's a great name. It's a great name. It's one of those names that, like, you gotta, I mean, keep it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's definitely gonna be.
And Bob was like, because I've for the last decade I've done journalism on the side, just something to do, because it's like that's what I did way before I even like came to LA and even never thought about doing comedy. And so I was doing some like articles for the LA Weekly and just using that skill that I have. But the Bob story, which ended up being a really fun story in the Weekly, came about because basically one day I went to call or text Nick Swartzen, who I met, years ago, just whatever, out in the scene. He was always pretty, friendly enough, and I had his actual phone number and stuff. And I get a text back or a call like, "This isn't Nick Swartzen," or he called and he said, "I'm a guy and I'm not Nick Swartzen, but I wanted to like do the right thing and tell you that like I have his old phone number." And I started talking to him. I remember we were in the old apartment. It's kind of NoHo Studio City with my wife, and he's telling me the adventures of like what's happening with all these calls and texts that are coming in. And I said, dude, I'm like, I actually write for the Weekly, and like this is a story. He's like, all right, and it was really fun. And then I wrote a second story for the Orange County Register. They let me do a story and like just using like basically different words, and a little bit of different content about Bob's story. And then it just it was such a crazy thing for like within a year. I think it was all contained within a year. He went on Good Morning America and got me to be on for a few seconds, and and then like Rogan, he was on Fred Rogan's local show, and then I was like his manager for this story. It's so crazy.
I remember all that, man, step by step.
95.5, he was on one of those big shows. Like it wasn't that hard to get those shows with his story. It was like, and then he got on a big podcast, the really cool big national podcast. It's kind of like an NPR vibe, but it's about like really kind of cool edge to it. And then other things, and then like I was schmoozing the guy Jimmy Kimmel to have him on, and like the guy was cool, couldn't quite get him on, but the guy was like, it's interesting. It's just we know what it was. Kimmel would have had him on if Nick Swartzen came out.
Yeah. And I don't think Nick was too excited about the whole thing in the first place.
He wasn't as psyched about it, and I was just like, I ran to him one night at the Improv, and I just thought to myself, is he going to be angry at me? I mean, I was like, I like Nick, and he's really successful, and you know what I mean, and kind of famous, and he's a funny guy. And I'm just, part of me is like, dude, shut up. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, people need more serious problems to think about.
Right.
Yeah, so an article's written about how someone got your old phone number. Who cares?
And the thing is,
it's not a bad thing.
You got the opportunity to spin it how you want if you participate in it.
Yeah.
But if you kind of, do the step and fetch it's.
I think he ended up letting it go, because I think Bob said he ran into him, and then Nick kind of was like, all right, you're okay, you're all right guy, you know what I mean? So I would think that he's like not mad at either of us.
Well, I know Bob was trying to make it into a film at some point.
And I was like, I was kind of sort of on that team, I was kind of, he showed me, I mean, he was up for me helping to write the script and help with, some polish and, jokes or whatever. And Bob also seems like a pretty talented guy. I mean, he showed me a script of his, which I liked. It was a horror movie, and I was willing to vouch for it to like anyone I knew, you know what I mean, who had to do with that world of filmmaking. And it was Attack of the Melonheads or something it was called, right?
Yeah.
And but what happened with his script based on his story with the cell phone number, which I think he was calling The Phony.
Yep.
I really liked the treatment that he wrote. And there was another thing that gave me confidence. Like, this guy actually knows. You don't know, you meet someone randomly, and everyone says they can write a thing, whatever. But I'm like, this is a pretty good treatment. He like knows how to thread a plot. I mean, really well. And then there was this manager, Roxanne, who was always around the scene in L.A., Roxanne Davis, who years ago she had some kind of up and coming talent. She'd hang at the Improv. She ended up jumping all over and wanting to work with Bob and me too. And I was a good liaison because I had met Roxanne many, many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So to her, I was somebody who, like, he's, Adam Gropman, he's like kind of a known entity, and this guy Bob, still kind of feeling him out, even though he's the one with the story. So I met with Roxanne, and she had her own very, very strong ideas about how to try to sell this. That I even kind of tried to speak up for Bob, because she said, "Don't just only tell what really happened in the screenplay." And I'm like, well, it's a screenplay, it's a movie. What actually happened is a great basis for something, but this isn't like a historical type of, you know what I'm saying? This isn't one of those historical biography movies. This has got to be fictionalized somewhat to make it a fun and interesting movie, I think. And there's nothing wrong with that, you know what I mean? So it was just another one of those, I think, kind of like adventures you have in Hollywood, and you try to throw some stuff off the wall and see what goes in the hole.
Well, I started. I was kind of half-assed on that team too, but more on the fringe. And when I found that there was a lot of holes in that canoe. Yeah. That made me go, maybe I should probably stay more on the side lines. And Bob also had a very strong will. She's like strong-minded, and he was like a little bit stubborn on some things, and
no, and he is, and as I kind of got to know him, I haven't really hung with him in quite a while, and talked to him very little. He definitely, I think he's somebody who kind of takes a little bit of a pride in being hard-headed about some things, and maybe some things more open, but I think definitely. It's a mixed bag to be like that in a creative field.
Well, it was cool to be that close to a cool story that evolved into a screenplay idea that evolved into people wanting to get like attached to it. And then, knowing that you were on board really excited me about like getting involved, because I know your level of comedy is really good. So I'm like, okay, if Adam is sprinkling comedy into this thing, this is something that I think I definitely want to get involved with. I appreciate
that. I told Bob too, I said, if we can start writing it, maybe we should start writing the actual screenplay. Just leave everyone else behind who's like thinking or not thinking of the treatment of the idea. Just write a screenplay. It becomes its own commodity, maybe, you know what I mean?
It takes on its own life, actually.
It takes on its own life, and you got a great treatment here. And I mean him, and he had another buddy named Adam Jones, who I met, and really seemed like a nice guy. It's just like a friend of his. In LA, and where we all kind of hung out once out near the coast where he was living for a while. And I said, I understand that you guys are like, if I could even just be a fractional third partner, just to help with like joke whatever, you know what I mean, joke polish or just little throw in some other little comedy ideas and stuff. But where he took it as far as is in terms of like just the schmooze that everybody talks about doing in LA. If you got to get something from here to there, and you don't already have all the power, from the big higher on up, he like after the podcast with Jeff Garlin on it, Jeff Garlin really liked the whole story, like we were telling him. He thought it was interesting, right? So after we were talking to him a little bit before he left the building, and he said, I'll take a look at it. And I'd like to, I'd help you guys out because it's kind of a cool story and whatever. And then it's like, Jeff, you could be in it. Like, you play yourself, you know what I mean? And he gave us his email address. And it seemed like, he might, he might take a look at this. He didn't have to pretend to be friendly or care about it.
No, not at all.
Because, you can walk right out and do whatever they want. And I emailed him and never heard back. And to me, that's just typical. You know what I mean? Because he seemed like he was, like, at least open to, like, seeing what, And then I know that Bob went and he hung out one night and met with Kevin Nealon, who also was interested and kind of tickled by it, But that's just how it goes.
That is how it goes. Welcome to Hollywood. Yeah. Where dreams are crushed in 2 seconds and no one really gives a shit.
Right. Enjoy every little thing because I have someone in my life who likes to say, you can die of... of hopeful expectations or something like that. You know what I mean?
Well, Adam, it's always a pleasure chopping it up with you, my man. We should do this more often.
Yeah, this is awesome.
It's we're never going to run out of things to talk about.
Oh yeah.
And we're always probably going to have some comedic value no matter what we do.
Yeah.
Because you're a funny dude.
Thanks, man. You too. I always dig your different endeavors and being involved.
Yeah. Well, you gotta. Nothing's gonna come to you. You gotta go get it sometimes. And for me, I just do what makes me happy.
Yeah.
And what makes me feel fulfilled, and what makes me feel like, all right, I'm evolving.
Yeah.
What I'm doing, and I'm evolving my comedy, and this is
a good
exciting.
idea because this casts of different kinds are obviously such a big thing. And to have your own angle on it is really great, smart. Mm-hmm. To have it be, okay, it's not just a podcast, audio, and to have the angle like the thing with the sports contests. Mm-hmm. It's great because in this day and age, it's not like 15 years ago, maybe, I don't know, you could be like, I'm doing a podcast where we're going to talk. And it was like, what? You're one of only 3 people on Earth doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Where can we find you on the web, my man?
I'm on Facebook, Adam Gropman. I'm at GR Optimum on Twitter, and I have an AdamGropman.com and funnybiz.biz.
All right. Well, we'll push you on all that stuff when we get this up and out.
Thanks, man.
And I will totally keep you in the loop, 100%. And there is a pool table over there. Maybe we might shoot a little pool after we get this all wrapped up. But
billiards.
Adam, thank you for stopping through, my man.
It was a lot of fun.
We will chop it up again, and it was a lot of fun.
Thanks, man. It's good to be here in the ski lodge.
All right. There you have it. So that's it for this week. We'll be back next week with the Penalty Game podcast with the PodBrother here at the Tom Bergin's Irish Pub. Right now, Rich, Adam, and I are going to shoot a little pool. We'll see you next week. All right. Ciao, guys.